The following is a conversation with a client, Krishna Ravi, who landed a director of data engineering role with Brown and Brown Insurance. The process for her lasted around 4 months, which was quarter four of 2024, which, as many people incorrectly believe, that is a slow time for hiring. Well, not for her, not for other of our clients. And she reached out to us because she was wanting to move away from the toxic work environment that she was in to have a better work-life balance. And it's funny because the environment that she ended up landing was pretty much just that. And that was also something that one of our other clients had landed. So two of our clients had landed the same offer, and the other client had declined this offer because they wanted to move to a more faster paced environment. And so this ended up working well for her. And it goes on to show that in order to land a role that truly matches what you want, then you got to have options. The other client had options, she had options, and of course she ended up choosing what she wanted, and she did that by working with us, which is one of the things that we work heavily on to get you better options, right? And the entire process was in fact eye-opening for her, as she would comment in the video, as she had never thought about her career and how to market herself in a niche area before. And she was particularly happy about her done for you approach because that saved her so much time and hassle, giving her the mental peace and consistency to stay put in the competitive job market. So without further ado, let's crack right into it.
There we are. Perfect. All right. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Doing well, doing great. Did you already start with the new place?
Yeah, I did.
How was the onboarding?
Onboarding is good. Yeah, it's
Nice.
been, I think, this week is the third week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. In this call, what I wanted to quickly understand is like, I know we started working together last year, and then I want to understand like what was your experience through our journey, through the process. Any feedback, good or bad, whatever it is, I would want to hear and document because these are some of the best calls I would love to have. Initially, of course, I was talking about showing you all the hopes and dreams and all of that, but this is where things already have materialized. So I'm very happy to be on this call, but wanted to hear your own experience throughout the process.
Yeah, same here. I'm very happy that we were able to connect, and you and your team have helped me. One, I wanted to work on my profile when I joined the team. So a resume building and the whole LinkedIn profile building, all of that. It was really a good experience. It just gave me a chance to, when I was answering all the questionnaire, the amount of the things that I should have thought about, which I didn't think in the past. So it kind of self-reflection, and it gave me a chance to really think through on what I have done, where I added value, and kind of when I was putting together. And some of the questions I couldn't answer, I was like, oh, I should have thought about those when I was doing those and collected that information. So it's lessons learned. Those were the points that they'll stay for me for life to think about when in the future projects. Now, even now, when I joined, I was like thinking, okay, I should think about it in this perspective and put together points for my own future reference. So that definitely helped. That gave me a lot of, like I said, self-reflecting points to think about, and even in the future. The experience in general was like really good. The way you guys helped me was like, connecting to the people. This was the best example for that, I would say, because I have been reaching out to this company or applying for this company almost like a year and a half back. This position for an enterprise architect, I wasn't selected for enterprise architect, but I applied for that like a year and a half back because it was open for quite some time now. Nobody reached out from either Brown and Brown or anywhere, right? Like it's sitting there again. That connection, I always believed that, but I didn't have a connection. But that's the thing that you guys built, looking out and finding those LinkedIn searches, like whom we can connect to, and sharing those contacts definitely helped. Because one of the contacts you sent me when I sent a LinkedIn connect to her and sent an email is when she replied back saying, I'm not handling this position, but I'll forward it on to the person who is handling, because we didn't know who was handling, but or neither of you, but she was able to connect me with that person, and that, took it forward. So this is the best example of how those LinkedIn connects work, and all of that. So in that process, it was definitely very insightful, knowing and connecting to the right contacts to reach to the position or reach to the HR managers or hiring managers in general. So that definitely was a good experience and a big help, I would say, for me to get this position.
Glad we could help. One of the things, like, of course, and this is something I feel like we could have done a better job in terms of communicating this more with you. But internally, when you talk as a team, your name consistently comes up like, hey, how do we get more clients like her? Because like you're super prompt in terms of like doing everything that's on your part. But more importantly, and this is something like most of the people would do over like, whoever wants to land it. The thing that, because I know it took you several months to get to where you are. The thing is, like, after a month, like initially it's like a hype. Everybody's excited. Yes, let's get down to the process. And then when things start getting messy, and then there are dry spells, and then there are, oh, we have tried these many combinations. Things haven't clicked yet, or they haven't clicked as much. One thing that we did experience with you, and some of our top performing ones, is like, despite of whatever being thrown your way, your motivation or resolve to do the same thing remains steady. And that was one thing I love that when I see that in someone. But like what I want to hear is like, does it come natural to you? Is it something that you built during this process? And more importantly, like if you were to give a message to someone who is currently looking for a job or is in a similar shoes as you were a couple months ago, what would you say to them?
One, I know you were there to help, but again, that proactiveness has to come from us as well. That's what I believe. And I'm very proactive in general. When I start a conversation, I want to close that loop one way or the other. That's my natural thing across the board. Any conversation I start, I just want to, good or bad, just want to close it off. Like, no, I don't want to just keep it lingering. So that's probably why you have been seeing like, okay, I come back to it very, very quick. And I had a motivation to find something quick as well, because I was first things, even though I had job, I was so frustrated with that job that I wanted desperately move on and go away from that toxic environment. So that was my main motivator. Maybe that was my personal, desperation to move over. But in general, I would do the same. I didn't do anything more urgently because of that need for me. But yeah, I felt at times like, reaching out to so many people and so many jobs, and they're out there. If they're not like, not so much for you, but just from the high managers and the company's perspective, that like, if they're not interested in hiring, like why are they even posting it? And when we try to reach, why are not responding back? I understand there are a lot of people reaching out, a lot of applications that might be coming in. But again, maybe that's me as well. If somebody messaged me on LinkedIn for a position, or even when I was hiring in the past, if somebody reaches out, I at least acknowledge. And that I haven't seen from people, which was frustrating to me in general when we are in this professional world. I understand people have their own priorities, they are like, all busy. I get that, but I felt people had that responsibility when you have a forum that you have signed up to be on, and there is a forum to reach out. People reach out, at least respect their time too, and then at least a couple people did. A couple people used to say that like, okay, I'll reach out. And I think one from Confluent or one of the consulting company, that person reached out and said like, okay, we'll. And there are few who reached out and told me that like, we are not, we are about to close the position and so on and so forth. So that I appreciate those. That is the thing that frustrated me more than anything else. That when we don't know, it's fine. Like, I understand they have thousands of applications and nobody, bothers to respond back to every single application. That I get it. But when we connected and reached out with a message or an email, when people, didn't even bother to just acknowledge the email, was little, frustrating, to say the least. But again, that's maybe my personality that like, I acknowledge every single email that I get to make sure. Most of the time, I sometimes I get busy and I don't, that's very, very rare. Like our situation of going back and forth, like, because I was traveling and then I was getting settled into this new thing, and I was just juggling a few things at home because it's a full-time on-site, which didn't happen for like 4 years now. So I had few things to take care of. So I was pretty busy. So I was feeling bad that like, I'm not doing a good job like keeping up with the messages or keeping up with the thing. But again, that's in general, I think that's what was more frustrating than your team. I know they were reaching out, they were sharing some of the positions that I could, and there are a few that I found that I could reach out to. But I think from their perspective, I think they did a pretty good job from my experience point of view.
Got it. Well, this is one of the things, and maybe because like I got forced into the sales and marketing world, so I kind of over time I developed a thick skin around like reaching out and not hearing back. And so like our entire organization is pretty much like they're super immune in terms of like okay, so it's not so much like
I get it. I'm not saying that, but just as a
yeah,
experience, like
and
I'm like, why don't they do that? Like, I understand.
yeah, and this
Like I
is
said,
this is
it's just maybe my personality of replying back, and I'm expecting the same from the other side.
And it is your personality because, like, to be honest, like, we have signed clients who have paid for our services and we're reaching out to them and saying, like, hey, we want you to do this because it's for your own good. And we don't get a response. Like, everybody is like trained to just like follow up 5 times. So I can only imagine like we are reaching out to someone for something that we want. So in this case, a job, and they perhaps are getting reached out by so many people. So there's two things I'm trying to drive with this. One is like we understand, and you are fairly resilient, despite it, because that's your in nature that you respond. So I'm sure you felt bad because of that, but you still went through the process. But the fact that like the model that we moved to initially, we would tell them like, hey, here's how you write the email and all of that. But one of the things we kept seeing this a couple of years ago that like people would not make those because like they would get discouraged, and then after that, like that, they would stop sending the message. So there's a dip and nothing happens. And so that's where we said, like, okay, let us make the message, let us take the heavy work out of that. So that's when we went to a done for you service. One question I had for you, if we take this a step further and say we are a complete done for you service, where we say, hey, there's a proxy inbox that we can manage for you. And we'll send the emails, we'll take care of finding the jobs, we'll take care of the application. So there's like, you only come in and see as an observer what rules are being applied to and what conversations are going on, and we keep taking care of that. Would that be a model? Because like that is something I'm more working towards. Since you have been already been through that process, maybe your input is the most valuable one.
Yeah, I think for some people it might work who are pretty busy and not able to get to that level of detail. I think what might be, I don't know if they went through the process of, I felt the first few steps are the hard part because we need to provide a lot of information. And especially if you're consulting or if you're like switching jobs very frequently, then it's even harder because you have to think about every single thing in that time frame that you have done. But once that first initial steps were done, which is more from our side, I think for my personality, I would like to be the person driving those and not you. I would like to be involved. I would like to build that network or contacts. But I can imagine people wanting that service because in that way they don't have to worry about forgetting sending an email because they were busy with the other things they're doing. Yeah, I could see people benefiting from that kind of proactive approach of reaching out and doing all that. But yeah, for me, I wouldn't let others drive it because ultimately it's my job, it's my career. So I would like to be in control of something. I need guidance. I need help in finding what I'm not able to find and complement where I'm not able to do it, but not complement everything for me.
I see. I see. So you still want to be in control of what goes out and you want to be the person who sends this out. But
Yeah,
so for you, the current like midway model where we are at is pretty much good.
pretty good. Yeah, exactly.
That.
Yeah. But maybe what I was thinking is in certain cases, I can't recollect correctly, but somewhere in vaguely when I was writing some email to somebody, I was thinking maybe something we should probably do differently might work. I'm not sure if they're even reading this email, even if they're, paying attention to such messages and so on and so forth. But yeah, for me, I would to be in control of that and decide whom I'm sending to, whether I would like to or not. Because that's for certain companies, I'm like, I wasn't so interested in sending. So I messaged saying, like, I'm not interested in such positions or such companies. For me, stability is more important. I want long term. I don't want to keep on changing. The Paramount was one of the mistakes, I would say. I didn't see it soon enough that where I'm going and how it was going. I should anticipate it. But I don't think you will know until you join some of these situations. I guess those are lessons learned too. But yeah, to your question, for me, I would keep it, but I can see who would benefit. Maybe it's something that you would want to keep both models open for you and ask the clients, whoever coming in, what they would need, what kind of model they would prefer to go with.
Got it. Yeah, yeah, that also makes sense. And so how do you did mention, and I know when we first spoke, you were very clear in terms of it's not something that I'm moving towards, but like in this job search, it's something that I'm moving away from, and I know what I do not want. You were very clear on that. Do you find like having worked 3 weeks into Brown and Brown, or like having interacted with the leaders there, do you find like this is the kind of environment that you naturally were getting towards?
Yes, definitely. So far, they are big on culture. They are big on and the interviews that happened, the in-person interviews, the one of the interviews, bunch of interviews, but that happened on site in person, were from 8 to very intense, very back to back. Even lunch was an interview.
Kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, right? And most of the time people were only talking about, how I would fit into their culture. And I was thinking, why are they so big into culture? Are they, because all companies talk about culture, but I wasn't sure how much they would really stick into that. But so far, I'm not, again, super into it, but so far I have seen they're everyone is really, really focused on that. Everything that they do, they reiterate that, we need to be moving into the culture of inclusiveness, making sure people are welcomed, people are and so on and so forth. So I think overall, I think and that is a kind of company I love too. Like Sony was the best example. I love that company so much that the only reason I had to move was personal reasons. Both times I quit Sony was for my personal reasons. One, because of I had to go to India, and the second time because of the situation where I am in my life, personal life, that needed work-life balance a little bit more, in only from schedule perspective, not so much work perspective.
Yeah.
I couldn't commute for that long and couldn't be away from house. Just the distance and the commute. The culture is so good that they always look out for you. They are never trying to pull you down and push you down or anything of that sort. It's always an encouraging environment, and I have the same feeling when I'm working in Brown and Brown about that. So that is the kind of culture that I'm looking for, where you're encouraged, you're given, you're valued, no matter what it is. People, it's professional world, so I'm more of that kind of a person where I value for people, and I expect the same from them. So that is very important, and I'm hoping. So far, I'm seeing it's a good vibe, so I hope it sticks.
Nice. And this is often the point I try to drive home with a lot of folks is there's not always like one single, not everybody's motivations are the same.
Yeah.
And so not everybody's approach is the same. Like some people, and that's why there were clients who were alongside with you during that duration, and roles that we were putting for them versus the roles that were kind of getting filtered for you. They were kind of dissimilar. And this is so funny because the brown thing, because it was one of our clients right prior to before you joined. Around that time, they had gotten an offer with Brown and Brown for the same position. So we knew that okay, this is a role that's going to come again into the market. And so by the time, and we knew that okay, and the reason why they left Brown and Brown was because their motivation was hey, I want to be in a little bit more fast-paced tech environment.
Yeah,
so they ended up joining the Expedia. And so Brown and Brown was a little other side to
quite opposite. Yeah. I know Expedia world only because when I was at Clear Channel, when I was in Seattle, I had colleagues worked in Expedia, moved here, and then moved back to Expedia. So I know the kind of work environment over there. Brown and Brown is quite different. It's pretty slow paced. It's I think one of you mentioned it's like government job. It's exactly like that. It's so slow, and they're in their own pace, which is, at this time, perfect for me. I don't care. I just want to be I want stability now because which is what I when I rejoined Sony was my expectation, but unfortunately I had to. And again, Sony wasn't slow. It wasn't slow, but the people aspect of it was the one that I like about there. They value people. It's all around making sure we are comfortable and we are working well with each other. That kind of environment is what I'm more looking for here. That's what it is, but it's slow. It ended up being slow. I didn't realize it would be slow. When you said that, I thought maybe more stability. perspective. I didn't realize that it's so slow. And so I think they are like almost 10 years behind from a technology perspective too. Even though they are on cloud, everything is all over the place. So
tons of work to do there then.
definitely lots of work. And everyone, I think they're just starting to increase the IT budget and focusing more on IT. Until now, everybody's like a small pop shop kind of a thing. They just IT was there for the sake of their being there, but not like, just because the computers have to run, systems have to run. That's why.
Keep the lights on, yeah.
Otherwise, there wasn't anything much. I think last 2 years is when they really focused on it and started to pump up. So everybody, all the C-level executives are hardly 2 year old in the company. Yeah, everything is like, just jump starting. So which is the perfect time to be in. I wouldn't say super behind or way behind. They are on cloud. They have like, good architecture, just that we need to start putting things in there.
But I'm glad, and this is where it worked out perfectly that you ended up landing in the kind of environment that you were wanting, of course. And so glad that it worked out for you. And yeah, I'm really happy to be having this offboarding call with you. And I'll stay in touch with you over LinkedIn. If you have any questions, needs, concerns along the way, just please feel free to let me know. One last ask I will have for you. If you liked our services, could you leave me a recommendation on LinkedIn? I'll send you a request, and then it helps me kind of like give you, and you don't have to, you can be totally candid about it, right? But it helps put out a very honest picture.
No, I didn't have any anything that I thought like, why am I even doing, or regret of like, oh, why did I even sign up kind of a thing. Absolutely not in any point. Only when we weren't getting any responses back, where like, okay, maybe we should change a little bit of a strategy here and there, or look for something different. That's the only thought I had. But otherwise, like I said, during resume building and putting together all those, like answering that questionnaire was the best thing. Even my family was asking, why are you spending so much time? My husband was like, why are you spending so much time in filling up this questionnaire? Why is it so important? I'm like, it's really eye-opening for me. I want to do it.
That's pretty amazing.
It took a while for me, and it was really amazing. And I didn't wanted to stop it at any point. Like, I wanted to keep going for like, I was at one day, I remember I was like till 12 in the night. I was trying to answer some of those questions, and it was interesting. So it was a good experience. I enjoyed it.
That's pretty amazing. And I'll convey your regards to the team and let them know, like, this is because, like, for the questionnaire, to be honest, like, we always hear, like, oh my God, this is so much work, or like, there's so much friction there.
Right. And some of the things, initial conversations, right? It was intimidating too when I was told, like, no, you have to tell us this, or you have to mention about this. I was like, oh my God. But then it was interesting. It was a good experience. I love the team.
I'll make sure to let them know about that experience. Thanks a lot. It was indeed an amazing journey with you, and I will look forward to just like perhaps many years down the future, if you ever want to make a change, would love to get back to you.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Krishna. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.